Welcome, everyone. We're excited to present to you today our latest version of Bacon Unlimited's endpoint configuration management solution. We're going to present Bacon 3.1 today. We're going to show off all kinds of exciting things, basic foundations, but also new features that I personally like to call flavor alerts. So the flavor alerts that you're going to see today will include remote just-in-time mode, not filters, which is a frequent request, monitoring groups, remote columns for endpoint table. The list is long, and John and Andrew will take us through all of it. My name is Michelle Kiley. I'm your host today. I'm a Bacon Unlimited co-founder, and also on the line, I've got John Marcato, our CTO and Bacon Unlimited co-founder. Welcome, John.
Hi, Michelle. Hi, everyone out there.
All right, and also on the line, last but not least, we've got Andrew Britton, the VP of Development, who's going to be helping us with the demo today. Welcome, Andrew.
Hey, how's it going? Ready for some bacon?
I'm excited. I'm ready. All right, well, before I hand it over to you guys, I do want to just cross off a few tactical items. My favorite item on the list is the chat. You guys out there have the ability to talk to us and ask questions in real time. So there should be a little chat box in your right-hand corner there. We've got an engineer behind the scenes answering questions. So we'll try to answer all your questions in real time today. But if we don't get to you, we'll follow up after the webinar. In addition, something that's super valuable to us is our post-event survey. At the end of the webinar, we'll serve up a survey for you to complete, or you'll get a link in your inbox. There's a few ways you can get it, but we'd really love it if you would fill it out. That's where you get the opportunity to tell us what you thought about this webinar, what you think about our product, what you want to see in our product. We really take our customers' feedback seriously, and we really want to hear from you. So please do fill that out. And if you do fill it out, I will throw in some candy, some Bacon Unlimited candy for anybody that completes the survey. And I like to get to know you guys now. So before we get going, we are going to launch a few polls. Emily, do you mind launching that first poll for us? We like to launch these polls so that we can learn about you in real time so we can better tailor this conversation. So let's see.
Yep, that is usually what we see. Somewhere around half or more than half of the people do not usually have ways of verifying that policies they set on their endpoints are done. So two-thirds don't have a way to verify it, and that is something we'll definitely be talking about today. So I think we can launch the second poll.
All right, let's do it.
All right. How do you get help with complex tasks like automation and scripting? Just check all that apply there.
John, before Bacon, how did you get help with this?
You know, we had some skills in a couple of my places, but it was always like the person who could figure out that super weird automation thing would be really, really helpful, but might take them like a long time to figure it out. So as expected, right, a lot of people Google around to try and find answers. That can take a while, and you know, it's not bad to have some third-party help. It doesn't look like a lot of people are getting help from their tool makers. That's certainly a big differentiator with Bacon, is that your subscription comes with help on actually building out your own scripts and policy states, and so some really, really good advantages to using this tool to manage your endpoints. It goes beyond just you know, sort of break fix support and things like that. So great polls, and thanks for putting those up, Emily. Those are a great segue. With that, Michelle, is there anything else you wanted to say before I jump in?
No, I just want to remind everyone, throw us your questions, put them in the chat, but the floor is yours, John. Take it away.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining today and for just answering those questions there, and in advance for filling out the survey at the end. The big goal for us in doing these new product launch webinars is to make sure that people get an idea of what we're doing with the product, why we're doing it, and kind of the direction that everything's going. So one of the really fun things about making a product like this is that you know, coming from an IT background, I was always kind of at the mercy of tools and whatever limitations they came with. And even though there's been some great tools over the years, they're often sort of captured in their time. much like songs of the day, right? Sometimes they sound pretty dated 10 and 20 years later. And most of the tools that we sort of saw in the field were pretty dated, or not necessarily addressing the broad set of needs that IT people needed from tier 1 up through tier 3 and architect level people. So Bacon was really designed to sort of be for, made by IT people for IT people, and to do a great many things. So that's kind of the why we built it. It was to really solve what we consider to be a pretty big gap in this modern high security world that requires sort of faster time in development and much more high levels of security thought. So with that, we've added all of these features to hopefully give the greatest tool set, which continues to grow and expand, all in one platform for managing endpoints. This kind of tool is going to be a great complement to ticketing systems and CMDBs and outside-in type monitoring, network type monitoring systems. This is an agent-based platform, and it works on multiple forms of Linux, Mac, and Windows, servers and workstations. And the key concept is that you're going to have feature parity. It's not like we say we support Linux, but half the things don't work, or we support mostly Windows and don't really support the other operating systems. I never liked that. So we've done quite a lot of work to keep feature parity whenever possible. Sometimes operating systems are a little bit different, but overall you should be able to do virtually everything on all of these operating systems. So it's cross-platform. You can do remote connection right from the platform. So oftentimes with the tools that are out there, you do configuration management in one platform, monitoring in another platform, and remote connection to your systems, either for help desk support or for unattended access in yet another platform. Bacon, it's all in one. And as we've added those features and as we add more, it's still the same really good cost, and becomes really integrated and fast to get things done. So it's a very intuitive interface as well, so it's easy to learn. Bacon customers are up and running on their first day, and if they spend probably an hour on it, can learn about 80% of all the functionality. It's very intuitive, and it's meant to be contiguous throughout the platform, so you'll see the same kind of buttons and layout and logic through the whole thing. It's not a bunch of glued together pieces. It is one well thought out user experience. It does have third-party integrations. That's a new set of features that we have. We'll be showing those off today. It's massively scalable, and you can do patching on all of the systems. You can install applications, whether they be simple or complex. You can do really, really easy to use scripting functions with a lot of flexibility. We don't lock you into only one way of doing things. We give you some flexibility to handle things from different contexts, and that's a really key thing. IT people often have to do similar work, but in different contexts, and we don't want to lock you in where you can only do things one way, because that just slows you down, and we're trying to speed you up. So you can do all of those kinds of things, and we do have a really great system, which we call Profiles, which allows you to control virtually every setting on your computers. And so you can do things like controls group policies, change registry settings, change config files. You can do things like install applications or force uninstall applications. And not only can you do all of those things in an automated way, which allows for the self-assembly of systems and for the maintenance of those systems, you can monitor that those sort of compliances are held. So, if you do see that there's a change, maybe someone had the power to change one of those things, you can see that that happened, be alerted on that, and automatically change it back, but maybe just go deal with why it is that it's been changed, right? So lots of really, really good functionality in there. And I think one of the greatest improvements, and the last thing I'll talk about before we jump into the actual demo and show you where the rubber hits the road, is the fact that we've really streamlined how to maintain the system itself. So we've got a great way to roll out endpoints. There are many ways to roll out endpoints, but we now have our own built-in scanner which will automatically scan all of your connected networks for potential devices, so you can just easily roll out agents in an incredibly simple way. Also, updating the server is a single line entry. It's extremely simple, and you can do it yourself or with our help if you so desire. So these are all some of the great things about Bacon. You're going to be able to monitor, remotely manage, get details and inventory on systems, and do all of these other functional configuration management tasks. And I'll mention it's in near real time. So unlike many of the MDM type software that's out there where you put in a setting or something and you hope sometime the next hour or day or 2 days that thing is going to apply, we give you direct control, no repackaging of packages. Everything is made to go fast, with as much simplicity as possible. So with that, Andrew, are we ready to switch over to the live demo and give these people a taste of kind of where we're at with 3.1?
We are absolutely ready. Go for launch.
Go for launch. Well, that's great. So I'm going to have you walk through a couple things here in a minute, Andrew, but I'll just open by saying when you log into Bacon, the screen you see here is what you're going to see. It's the overview page. It's a fully interactive dashboard. So essentially think of it as shortcuts to all the important stuff. And Andrew's hovering over some alerts there. It shows you the endpoints that are online and offline. Again, this is near real time. So every 15 seconds or so, it's going to have refreshed data. It's going to show you the distribution of endpoints, also the patches by operating system, antivirus, whether or not it's installed or not. You also monitor whether or not it's running, which is a pretty important thing. And if you have encrypted hard drives on any of your machines, which I highly recommend, you will be able to see all of those here in this, and it's kind of showing it from a top level. You can, of course, see that at a detail level on machines as well. Andrew, maybe just for to give a sense for how this works, maybe just click on one of those alerts for me.
Absolutely.
And so you'll notice what it's done is when he clicked on that, it's drilled down by taking us to the monitoring page where those alerts are all noted in detail, and it's filtered based on the monitoring alert that was shown on that front page. Now, that square diagram that you saw had 4 alerts in it. If you had 100 alerts, it would still take up roughly the same amount of space, but the squares get much smaller. So it's a sort of flexible infographic there. When you do come to this monitoring page, you're going to see exactly what you drilled down to, but you can now edit it from here. So you could remove those filters that are on there, and Andrew's just going to pull those off. And you'll notice now there's more alerts since we don't have any filters on. You can apply filters, and this is again throughout the whole piece of software by either going into the hard filters like Andrew is, and this is actually a new feature here that you can just start typing. So if he types in, DES, it's going to go right to description. Just makes it a little bit easier than having to scroll down when some of these menus are longer. The other thing that you can do other than making filters this way is another new feature, which is called a not filter. So just like Andrew did there, he could say the severity is equal to or not equal to low. And if he clicks on that, it's going to show all of the not low features. And these not filters are through every page in Bacon and essentially doubles the amount of filters that we have. We were looking at some filters and going, well, we have one that is filtering by a machine that has a certain piece of software. Well, what if I want to filter by machines that don't have that piece of software? And it just seemed like having opposite filters for everything was key. So we just recently added that feature as well. And you'll see more of that as we go through here. I will just round out monitoring real quick. You can make a lot of different kinds of rules. So you can see things like disk space or CPU or RAM having thresholds, and you can have multiple thresholds and apply those to your machines. So if you want to know when certain groups or certain individual computers go over on their CPU or RAM, you can do that. It is a new thing that we do group-based, and we'll get into in a second what that means. But ultimately, you've got a whole bunch of other kinds of monitoring alerts as well. So you can see machines, like maybe your server is being disconnected, patches, the count of them or the age of them. And then you can also see services being offline, services or daemons on Mac and Linux. Really, really important pieces of software like antivirus or databases are going to run as a service. And it's really important, even if the machine is running, to know if that service has had any problems. So just another kind of monitoring you can do that's really, really helpful in here. We also have one for monitoring the licenses in case you're getting close to using up your Bacon licenses. So just keeps that all figured out for you. So monitoring's great. You can be alerted through email, or you can just have it on the screen. But now we have integrations with ticketing systems. So you can also, if you use Autotask, which has been bought by Datto and now by Kaseya, it's a very popular ticketing system, or Jira, which is another very popular ticketing system. We've added those integrations and we'll be adding more, but we had to start somewhere, and those were two popular ones that a lot of clients wanted. And the other thing we recently added, as I mentioned, is this groups feature. And what this really means is that you can use dynamic or static, but usually dynamic groups to do your monitoring. And this just means that if you had a group called, say, servers or Ubuntu servers, as I can see down there, that group is a dynamic group, as it indicates over on the right. And so any machine that's running Ubuntu is what was used to create that group. It's not created by which machines are in the group. It's created by the criteria itself. So you can, actually make a group by going to the endpoints page, which we'll show in a minute, and selecting the criteria and then making a group out of that. And that group will always be up to date. So if I built a new Ubuntu server like a week from now, it would automatically, and install Bacon, it would automatically join that group. And if that group is being monitored for hitting 80% CPU usage for 1 minute or something like that, it will get monitored just like all the other servers. So you can still monitor by single endpoints and have it be static, but that group functioning really helps, so you don't have to go back and add things to monitoring groups. Something we wanted to add for a little bit and just got it done on the list. So very excited to add that. Monitoring also has a knock dashboard, and it's really a great way to visualize. Now, this is a small demo server, so there's not a ton of machines, but you can have this scroll and kind of roll around like a player piano. So if you have a knock area or a second monitor where you're monitoring from home, you can have that just kind of rolling, seeing the visualized health of all of your systems. So just an added element to our monitoring. And with that, I think we should probably break into some of the inventory areas, Andrew, because I know there's a lot to get through today. And I thought maybe you could show the endpoints page and kind of go through all the ways that you can cut and splice things around to get the views the way you like.
Absolutely. This is the endpoint page, the endpoint table. You'll be spending a lot of time here. This is where you get a sense for your system and where you can kick off, as you see, a bunch of actions, being able to do the work required for having a healthy system, including patching, maybe flushing computers, rebooting them as well. And when you're trying to do those actions, it's really useful to be able to change the table around in a way that's meaningful for you performing that action. Let's say right now, if I'm really interested in patching and some of my computers, need reboots, then I want to put the patching column right up front. And this is very nice. And I sort by this, and I can now see these are my two biggest offenders, right? And I can select those and then perform patch. In addition, let's say this column is a little bit too big, or where's my the operating system name over here? I really want to know which one this is before I start doing actions. So there's a lot of flexibility now in these columns and being able to make the tables the way that you need to get your work done. If at the end of the day you've done a little bit too much and you want to just reset the tables, right under columns, you have the option to reset tables.
And I notice, Andrew, that you have the pending reboot one unchecked down there. And show them how easy it would be if you added that in and then wanted it to be, close to the left-hand side. It looks like you just reset it, so they're in there. But if you wanted to move that all the way to the left, now you've got that one in there, and you can just grab it and kind of move it wherever you want, right? It's great.
Yeah, and this was an excellent example of a reason why I should reset my columns, because at first I couldn't find this pending reboot column. And then, in a case where you can't find a thing, resetting, and now, okay, great, I know where it is, and I can move it right back where I need it to, and then I can take my patches right there. So for, if I'm doing patching work, these are the 3 most important columns I'm gonna have, and they're right up front. So I just love it.
Yeah, I love that. And I also love how, if all the data you saw on your screen you needed to report on or send to someone else, you can just do a quick export from the actions button. It's just as simple as clicking right up there, clicking export, and you get an Excel document with this exact same layout. If you got rid of half of these columns, it wouldn't show those ones. It'll only show what you have on the screen, both filtered and what you've selected in the column. So you can really cut things up and export them. Extremely simple function. So that one's really great. I really like that. And this isn't the only inventory we have. As we mentioned before, if Andrew takes a filter up at the top, if you wouldn't mind, Andrew, just make a hard filter there for, I don't care what it is. Maybe host name is something that is common there or something.
How about has software? One of my favorites.
Oh, there you go. And you'll see he's typing in there, and it brings up the right thing. And I don't know what you've got in here, but maybe do things that don't have Adobe or don't have, I don't know, Cortex or something.
Let's see.
Maybe it'll be all the machines. Yeah, it looks like it is. So the important thing, though, is that there's a filter in there, and that filter will dictate if we decide to make a dynamic group. So if Andrew goes up to the actions button now and chooses create dynamic group, it's going to do it based on that filter. And all you got to do is name it. If you want to, throw in a description, and it's automatically going to update those members. It will always show the members. So these groups also become a great reference point to go in and maybe say, hey, who doesn't have this particular version of my antivirus software? Maybe they have Adobe Reader, but they don't have the latest one. And it's really easy to use this functionality to find that kind of stuff. So, the general inventory functions in here are really easy to use. And because you can save all these groups, you can really get a lot of stuff sort of queued up. So it's extremely easy to find things. We also have a software inventory, which, if you wouldn't mind, Andrew, we'll just pop over there. And this software inventory is going to show 2 different contexts. One is installed software. It's going to tell us the version of the software, whether these are things like Windows updates or whether it's a third-party piece of software like Adobe Reader or VNC or Office or whatever it is. You're going to be able to see all of your applications on all of your operating systems. You'll notice, once again, you've got the same filter, quick search, and actions button, as well as columns button. So it's really easy and intuitive to find your way around. And maybe just put in, if you wouldn't mind, in the quick search, Andrew, just type in ACL. I'm just doing this to show how easy it is. Quick search is quick, and it is also really simple to use. And it's going to search all of the database fields in there. So maybe erase that and type in 1.3. I just saw that over in the version level on the side table. Oh, and there's a lot of things that have 1.3 in it, right? So maybe we should do, if you really need to get this down, maybe 1.3-1.8. Maybe that's a 1B, I don't know, we'll see. And you can see the list has shrunk down considerably. So lots of ways to kind of get to the data you're looking for, whether it be here in the software table, the hardware table, patching table. We're going to have lots of really good ways to find what you're looking for. This software was built for very large environments as well as small. So, sometimes if you've got 2,000 endpoints, you really have to have good search tools to be able to find these. And that's what it was designed around, is really that hundreds or many thousands of of devices, and it's still fast no matter which size you have. We also have the ability to look at services. If you wouldn't mind just clicking on that quickly, Andrew, and you can see this has similar types of data. It's going to tell you if you click on one of these services, which endpoints have it. So I don't know, choose one that has more than one, I guess. And there you go. There's one called ActiveX Installer, and you can see those machines have it, that the service is stopped. And from the actions menu, you could nominate those to be antivirus. They aren't, so we aren't going to. But you can also start them if they're stopped, or stop them if they're started and you don't want them to be. So there's a lot of control functions in here. I didn't even mention when we were showing installed software, if you have software you're trying to get off of machines, like an old version of Adobe Reader, you can actually do uninstalls of that software as well. And it'll bring up essentially a workflow where you can choose which of the machines you want to do the uninstall on. It just makes things very, very fast and simple. So lots of stuff going on just in those inventory and visualization sections that we just showed. But I do want to move on just so that we make sure we get through kind of everything. And I know this is fast, so the couple things I would urge. Yeah, go ahead, Michelle.
Sorry, before you just roll into the other section, I'm just getting this question a lot in the chat, so I wanted to address it. We're getting the question of how do we tag antivirus in the software, and I thought that you should just cover that real quick.
Oh, that's a great question. So one of the things you can do is you can install, you can tag either an installed piece of software or a service. Virtually every antivirus, in fact, I think every antivirus I've seen in the last 5 years does run as a service. And usually that's the name that the antivirus provider rarely ever changes. So I often recommend, sort of a pro tip, that that's the best way to nominate your antivirus. And you can do that at a macro level. So if you're on a machine and you find it, you can nominate it there and it will do it for all machines that have that exact same antivirus. Or you can do it here in the macro view of software. It's extremely simple and it will show a flag. And actually, you want to just nominate that one. We can just as easily unnominate it. And you'll see it gets a little yellow shield down there, sort of universal symbol for antivirus. And then there's tons of different monitoring functions you can do on antivirus. So if that service stops running or any of those things, you can get alerts and tickets and all kinds of other key things there. It also just makes it a little easier to find them because we do have filters to say, show us your antivirus services and so forth. So great question for those who had it out there, and I hope that was helpful. I would urge people to continue to ask questions in the chat and also to schedule one-on-one demos. We love showing off the software. We love giving people a chance to test drive it. And we really look forward to getting to meet any of you who feel that this might be a good fit for your environment. With that, Andrew, I'm going to have you run through the patching flow. And Andrew showed a little bit, he gave a teaser, I think, before, that you could go from the endpoints page and choose a bunch of machines and patch them because you have so much data there about how many patches they have and things like that. That's one context. But Andrew's going to show it from a different context, like if you wanted to get a critical security update that just came out and you wanted to install it on all the machines that needed it, I think maybe if you could run through like that scenario for us, Andrew, that would be great.
I'd love to. Thank you, John. So as John said, we're going to come at patching from the patch context, not the endpoint context. And let's say it's Wednesday, we're a day out after Patch Tuesday, and today we really need to get the security patches installed. So just as you've seen on other tables, it's very simple to create a filter. And this filter, I'm going to look for certain categories in my updates. And let's just start, let's say category is equal to, now I'm going to just start typing security, and one of the things that I want you to see is we have security updates or security right here, and this list of endpoints is not an exhaustive list, but I just want to call out that in order to make Bacon as cross-platform as possible and make sure that we're treating each endpoint from the user experience the same, we've done a lot of work on the back end in order to automatically categorize the updates that come that are available on Mac OS as well as on Linux, all the different Linux flavors, so that when you start searching for categories here in Bacon, you are able to find which of my Red Hat updates are security updates. And when we do that categorization automatically on the back end. So I wanted to point that out, even though you can't see it right here. But with this filter, I've now found all of my security updates. And I mean, that was it. That was really easy. So in order to install these, so both of these are very important. So I'll select both of those, or just do right up there at the top of the table. Action, I'm going to do an install. And this now automatically shows only the endpoints for which these updates are available. The nice thing about this is you don't have to try and cherry pick, oh wait, do I need it for this one or that one? Bacon is smart enough, it shows you that you only need to do it for this one. And inside of this approach to patching, this patch context approach, I have multiple methods by which I could now install this update. I can install immediately, which means just run it, do it right now. I could schedule it a certain time. So I want to do it later after I go to sleep. I could run when connected. And the nice thing about the reason I really like this one is that if I have multiple endpoints and one of them, let's say, is offline, but I really need to get this job out the door anyway, it's the end of the day and I have to get it done, I can still select all of my computers, even the offline ones, and I can run when connected. And what that'll do is it will run it immediately for all of the connected machines. And then Bacon will save that job for all of the offline ones. It'll put it in a saved queue. So the next time that endpoint comes online, it automatically gets the job and performs an update that way. So this is one of the most used approaches for installing updates. And I just love this one. And then we have our kind of our powerhouse for patching. We have a relentless mode. And inside of relentless mode, and I like this one a lot if I'm, let's say, on a client network and I'm helping them out and they have 600 patches that have to be applied tonight, and or over the weekend, I'm just going to schedule a time. Let's say I always like to do Friday to Monday. During this time, Bacon will take all of the patches available across all of the machines and will attempt installations, and it will keep installing and attempting until the patch is taken or runs out of time. So I just love that approach. And so thank you for letting me explain this, John.
Yeah, no, it's great. And the fact that you can set it to reboot or not is actually true on all 4 of these functions. You can say don't reboot. It'll do all of the things that it can do on a patch job minus the rebooting, leaving that up to the end user, right? If anyone's ever seen that little icon in their tray in Windows that says you need a restart, you just got to click here. You can send out an email to your end users doing that so you don't reboot them in the middle of their work or anything like that. Relentless mode I find I usually use with servers because we work really closely with the patching systems for the operating systems and the people that make them. And one of the things that we found is that they give really, really good information on how to work with the operating system in an appropriate way. And that means they give you all the metadata about which patches come after the next, and you should really obey those. And we did that because we've seen other patching systems try to take the place of some of the Windows functionality, and they make their own DLLs and things like that, and they just break everything. So it'll work for a year, and then it'll break for a few months, and all of that kind of stuff. It really is crazy. So this was really designed with the idea of being able to do all the patching needs you want, but within the realms of what the operating system is meant to do. And it's a great thing to go in more depth if you decide to do a one-on-one demo with us. So that's a great one. The other couple big features that we've had for a while here are the repository and profiles. I'm going to go through them briefly because there's a couple of new features we do want to show off. So I'll just say this, the repository, if you wouldn't mind going to the files section there, Andrew, contains 2 things. It has the big files repository. You can put any kind of file in here. And from this location, you don't have to change the files or repackage them or do anything like that. you could take something like that Firefox PKG, or you could do an EXE or whatever, and you can install it on the appropriate kind of machine with a really simple set of steps. A tier 1 engineer could easily do this and master it, and it gives you all of the key options you require, but doesn't waste your time with a lot of things that don't make any sense. And then the other thing you can do is when you need to script, you can put scripts in here. You can even write them right here in the screen by going up to the actions button and saying create a file, and it will give you all the settings you need to have proper line endings. You could just paste in a script off of Google that you found and customize it, or you can write from scratch. And then the other thing you can do in here is really move any kind of file, but the common one is going to be doing an install. And sometimes that install requires more than one file. I know Andrew has an example on here using BG info, right? So you can have that little background screen with all the info about the computer. And he's going to just grab those 3 files that go into BG info, and he's going to choose create a bundle. And that's the other little part of repository, is creating these bundles. And what we've tried to do is ultra simplify multi-file installers. You just have to grab the files, create a bundle and what OS it's for, and then choose what the launcher file is out of the 3. Bacon will do the rest. It will ensure that all the files get to the target systems, and it will ensure that they kick off, and it will log the heck out of everything, as it does in all of our jobs, so that you can easily tell that it was successful, or if it did have an error, what that is, so you can iterate solving that quickly. And that's the biggest thing, is that if you're going to roll out a piece of software to 1,000 machines, if you have one failure, but it only takes 5 minutes to fix it, you're still kicking butt in terms of saving time. And so this is built to be able to do quick iterations and not have a lot of wasted steps or wasted little code things you need to know how to do. Lots of feedback from the system. The other big feature we have is called profiles. It is the most sophisticated feature. You could do a whole demo on it. But ultimately, we break down all of the settings and applications on a machine into what we call states. And states could be something like Firefox is installed, or it could be something more specific like Firefox 95 is installed, right? And it will make sure that any machines, right, that that's applied to will get that installed. If they have an older version, it'll replace it. If they have a newer version, it'll downgrade it to the older one. And if it doesn't have it at all, it'll just install it. But if it does have it, the correct one, it'll do nothing. And that's important. You don't want all these jobs running if they're not doing anything. So the system is intelligent to know if it's already in the state that you want. And so profiles are essentially stacks of states. A profile could just have one state, or it could apply many states at once to a machine. And again, it's all logged, and then it checks back in if you want it to see that that state is still the way you want it. Essentially, you can keep your machines totally under your control, staying with all the versions of software you want, what GPOs you want set with which settings. You could do things like turning on the registry setting that locks down USB. There's just a million different iterations. A lot of people use it to roll out new computers. They get a new computer, they install Bacon on it, and it completely self-assembles and everything is done. We have customers with media customers, their workstations take 12 hours to set up. With Bacon, they do 2 minutes getting it ready with Bacon, and it's just done. So it's just really, really easy, amazing feature, very powerful. And we've got tons of templates in there for both scripts and also under the profiles feature for states. We actually have about 4,500 templates because we do have every single GPO for every Windows system as a template. So we've got all of those free to download for all of our clients, and we're adding new ones all the time. Very, very fun stuff. With that said, I think we want to make sure that we cover remoting real quick because we have added some capabilities to it. So Andrew, maybe choose an endpoint and we'll just kind of walk through that. We did only add remoting in 3.0, and it has been a huge success so far. So this details page that Andrew just clicked on is something you haven't seen yet, but it is a details page for each machine. So a lot of that macro data you saw, you can now see on a single machine level, so you can get lots of detail. We have a tagging system in here, notes fields, and then we have this remoting capability to go to the screen, as Andrew's doing now. And this screen capability is all HTML5 WebSockets based, so you don't need a local agent running on your own computer to do that. It runs just on the target machines as an extra service that Bacon puts on there. And we now have a great new feature called Just in Time. And Andrew, maybe you can just explain how that works.
Absolutely. In order for clients to maintain security policy requirements put in place by their different verticals, we've added 3 different operational states: always on, always off, and on demand. And with always on, this remote service is always on, ready to go. With always off, the service itself, not just access to the service, but the service itself is always off, making it very difficult for a nefarious actor to try and use the power of this remote service against you. Additionally, we have this third option. This one is my favorite. This is on demand. You may call it just in time. And this means the service is off. It's literally off on the endpoint until you click this gear. And in fact, what you see up here is you'll also see the timer in place. So turning on the on demand sets a 10-minute timer. You can never go beyond 10 minutes, but you can click to reset it. And oh, I'm getting a little, sorry about that. That'll go away in just a second. So when it's reset, it goes back to 10 minutes, and now my icon is green. And over time, this will go from green to yellow to orange to red. And then when it runs out, it turns the service back off. Not just removes access, but turns it off completely. So this is my favorite one because it allows the power, but it does it in a very specific window of time. I love that. Thank you, John.
Yeah, you bet. And it doesn't just control the screen function, it also controls our remoting to the shell and to the file system. And these are very helpful if you need to get to systems, just from the CLI or seeing the file system. You don't want to interact with the user or be in their way. If you do and you're on the screen, you can chat with them. There's tons of other tools in this remote feature, which we probably won't have time to get into today, but working on this, I'll say one of the best things and why we built it was we wanted to get rid of the things we didn't like about other remote tools, and we wanted to embed it in Bacon. So we thought about using a third-party software, like something that already existed in the marketplace, and just having a connector, so you'd have to buy that license and connect them together. And we just said, let's take a look at what it would take to do it better than it's ever been done before. And we wanted it to be web-based. We wanted it to be ultra secure, and we wanted it to run really thin and be fast. And one thing we found is this way of doing it, you can, from 3,000 miles away, you can have the snappiest experience while you're doing this, like you're sitting right in front of the computer. And that was one of the great findings of using newer technology to do this instead of depending on old tools, that maybe have been around for 15 years. There's just a lot more good options today. So you can come in here to the file system, you can upload and download files. If you need to download a file, like a config file, change it and put it back. It's so easy to do that and in a context that's really easy to understand. So lots of tools in here, extremely powerful. We're very proud of it. And with that, I just want to kind of get on to the new features and also what's coming in the short-term roadmap. So for features, we mentioned there's some integrations, and you see those on the administration page. And so you can do ticketing systems, Autotask and Jira, but you can also do inventory if you use IT Glue, and we'll be adding more to both of these lists, so you can integrate with systems you really like or ones we help you to find. And the other cool feature that we have is the network scanner. And so you can come in here and you can scan any networks. You can also disclude any individual IPs. And you can use permanently hidden credentials to automatically install machines on your systems. And it'll give you all kinds of results, and it does that through WMI or SSH respectively on the different operating systems. So that was something that some other providers had, and we wanted to make sure that we made it as easy as possible to roll out agents. There are a bunch of other ways to roll out agents, and we could talk about that, but this was a key feature to add and super exciting. Andrew, are there any other features that we didn't talk about that are new for 3.1 before I talk about stuff that's coming?
You know, there was just one last one I wanted to touch on right here is we have a view of the scheduled jobs coming up. These are the ones that have not run yet, but will, and it gives you a chance to cancel that or run that job now, or just wait till it's going to run. And we also have tags management, so being able to tag your files or endpoints. Now you can see which tags you have in your system, where they are, and remove them if necessary.
Perfect. Thanks for adding those, Andrew. And if you wouldn't mind bringing up the slide just of the new features coming, and then we're going to give you some minutes back here where you can fill out the survey. But just want to let you know that, we never stop over here. We do release at 4 to 6 times the speed of anyone in the marketplace, and that is by design. So essentially, one of the big things that's coming here is the MDM control over Mac OS as well as iOS devices. So we never had iOS devices in here, and we will be adding those. But we did that because we're also going to be adding all of the MDM specific API functions of Mac OS, which is really important for Monterey. We can still do a lot from the command line functions that we currently control and remote to the screen, but the MDM allows us to do things like encrypt the hard drive and escrow the encryption key. It allows us to set configuration profiles, the Mac specific configuration profiles with all of your settings, and also to roll out all of your Macs and soon to be iOS devices as well through DEP, what is also known as Business Manager. So that's a huge feature that's coming this summer, probably to be released at the end of the summer. Really excited about it. The other couple are CVE tagging. So knowing when any of the software you have installed or any of the patches you're missing are related to particular critical vulnerabilities. And third-party patching will kind of come along with that, which is the ability to proactively see that you have third-party software that's out of date. You can already patch it now, but to be alerted that you have an old version of Firefox is going to be really great, along with about 500 other pieces of software. So those are coming. And then probably one of the coolest things, customizable endpoint data means you can query from lots of different sources and turn it into database tables that become searchable in Bacon. So if you have something specific that we don't already look for, like maybe video cards, and you want to look up all third-party video cards and see their serial numbers, you'll be able to easily do that. So very excited about that. We're also adding Rocky Linux support, which is key since it's kind of one of the main replacements for CentOS. And there's going to be a lot of improvements to grouping and foldering and things like that. So lots of fun stuff coming. This is just 2022 roadmap. Really excited, and look for that stuff for future webinars, and we can talk about it more when we meet one-on-one. So with that, we're going to flip over, give you the survey. Thank you so much for joining us today. Michelle, did you have any last comments before we let people see the survey?
I do, actually. I've got a few items. Number one is we do try to make interacting with us easy. So we want the tool to be easy. You can reach out to us anytime for questions. But also, if you want to check out our YouTube page, we post quite a bit of, they're called Bacon Bits, little videos that will show you how to do certain functions. So go ahead and check that out if you want to see it in action in addition to this demo. You'll be hearing from Connie and Caitlin from the sales team, hopefully to schedule your personal demo. We look forward to speaking to you guys in more detail. And then last but not least, we do really want to hear from you. So please do fill out that survey. We'll send you some candy. And just thank you all so much for spending the time today. We've had a big crew. We had some great questions, and I really appreciated the overview from John and Andrew, and we appreciate your attendance. So thank you, everyone, and have a great afternoon.
All right, and thanks for filling out that survey in advance. Thanks, everybody. Bye now.